The federal trucking industry is regulated by what's called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And the FMCSA has a set of regulations that govern motor vehicle drivers and the carriers that employ them. Those are called the FMCSRs, which are Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. I think one of the interesting regulations that are out there is basically the extreme condition weather regulation. I think it's kind of pertinent for right now, as in Northeast Ohio especially. You know, there's a regulation out there that basically states if you're a commercial driver and you encounter any extreme weather condition or a severe weather condition such as rain, sleet, snow, ice, fog. I think if you're a Northeast Ohio resident, you can have all of those in one morning, right? Any type of those conditions that a commercial driver encounters, the driver shall exercise extreme caution. And then in that regulation, it says the driver shall reduce their speed. Also within that regulation is if the conditions are bad enough, the driver shall suspend operation and wait for the conditions to improve. So that's what the regulation says. I think if you're a Northeast Ohio driver, we've all been in that situation where you're out and the conditions are quite hairy, whether it's snow, ice, rain, sleet, fog, or a combination of all of them. And what happens? You're on the highway and an 18-wheeler goes buzzing by you faster than you're going. Well, now you know that the regulation out there, that's a violation right there. If you're getting passed by a commercial vehicle in those types of conditions, they're violating that reg because the regulation says that they shall operate at a slower speed. Well, what we're going to first be looking at is what was that driver doing in those conditions? What are the witnesses stating? Was he in the right lane with his flashers on doing 40 in a 60-mile-per-hour zone, or was he passing in the left lane doing 70 while everyone else was doing 55? If that's the case, if the latter's the case, we're now looking at going after him not only for the negligence, but potentially punitive damages for operating in contravention of a known regulation. So in the context of the extreme weather regulation, one thing that we're constantly looking at when one of those cases comes in, we've got a situation where there was a weather event, the driver was not exercising extreme caution, it's clear from the evidence, the witness statements, so we're looking at not only that day, what the driver didn't do right that day, we're also then going to do what? We're going to go look back at the carrier and see, does this carrier have a history of their drivers being cited for this? Because if we can go back into the federal database and find that this carrier has had either that driver or multiple other drivers get cited by these enforcement officers for not exercising extreme caution during a weather event, that now leads us to not only be looking at the negligence of the driver the day of that wreck, we're now also looking at a separate negligence claim against the truck carrier for their business practices, whether that be who they're hiring, who they're retaining, how they're training their drivers to operate in an extreme weather event, and how they're supervising their drivers when they operate. What we've seen in our cases, sometimes you get these drivers into a deposition and you're asking them about their history driving, and you bring this regulation up to them and they've never heard of it in their life. The first time they're hearing about it is when you're talking to them in the deposition. And I can tell you from experience that gets the other side doesn't enjoy that when I realize that their driver's hearing about this regulation for the first time in a conference room like this, as opposed to a training ground years earlier when they were hired.